a cat, a loud noise, TV in the background. Just if you can put it off, that would be fab. Yes, so, as always, in my screen it's Ali, me, Clara. So why don't we just go in that order for questions that we got? So Ali, you just want to kick off?
So I'm just waiting, by the way, because someone's messaged to get the Zoom code there.
Do you want me to kick off?
No, it's cool. I've got one.
Okay.
So the first one was running out of weight to progress. Execution's improving week by week, but obviously they've said that they're getting more weights. But am I going to be providing enough stimulus to maintain muscle mass, or do I need to switch up my movements? Obviously to ones that you can then progress, and then also grow in a deficit of calories. So the answer to that is it's a hard one.
Break it down.
Yeah, so obviously if you're at the point where you can't progress certain lifts, we know at the moment it's not as simple, because in a gym you just add more load to the bar. We can't really do that, and it depends. I would say, like, if the rep range is aiming to be 8 to 10 and you can hit that pretty decent, you could just push reps up. But if you're like going to max out at like 20, it's going to be a difficult one. It's just one of them things at the moment where you can't create more load, so we might have to then create different ways of doing it, or we could switch to different movements, but again, you might run out of movements over the space of lockdown. I always try to stick to movements that are effective. It is a hard one. I've got a few guys at the moment, I'm sure Vaughn and Clara do as well, that are like big, strong guys, and they maybe only have 60 odd kilo they can load onto a bar. You can stimulate muscle, but you're not going to be hitting, you can hit failure. It's just going to take a fair more amount of time. What I've personally been doing is working sort of different ways. Depends on the person, but might be using like isometrics beforehand. I might be putting in supersets, things like that. Although in a gym, I will very rarely superset. I will never put in an isometric, although I might after this. Is it enough to stimulate muscle mass? Or in a deficit, if you're not fully going for it, and this goes to anyone that trains like Fanny, you can lose muscle tissue. Now, at home, you're going to have to be very, very careful of this. So, could you maintain it? Yes. Is there a chance you might lose some? Also, yes. It is a difficult one, though. It depends on the equipment, what you've got, how much you've got, because if you've got varying equipment, you probably could swap it. But if it's something like, for example, a barbell shoulder press, and the weight you're using, you can do quite a lot of reps, but the next weight up, you can't get up there, then you probably do need to switch exercise. That's basically all my answer on that. Like, yes, you could, you've got, depending on how much equipment you've got, I don't know, but you could maintain the muscle mass depending on how much equipment. If you've not got much and you've only got bands in a deficit, probably not.
Let me add to that. I literally did an IGTV on that yesterday. Go out and buy equipment. Legit, like, it's not hard. And I think Ali, me and you spoke the other day about how much money people, okay, some people lost their jobs, fair play, furlough, I get that. But you're not going on your summer holiday this year that's maybe going to cost you $1,000 that you'd happily drop, by the way. Oh, by the way, you go to Ibiza, it's 1,200 quid with the boys. Right, sound cool, bum, credit card. Oh, a barbell's 500 quid in weights. No, I'm not spending that. You know what I mean? You've got to kind of look at your investment. I think that, especially from a mental perspective, like an investment of a few hundred quid in a barbell and some weight plates is huge. But also you've got to think of, okay, how can you add more load onto that bar? Well, I've got a client, Indra, and she's got like a 1 meter bar and some weight plates. And I'm like, right, we can get 35 kilos on this bar. I went, but you've got two 16s. I went, you've got daisy chain and clips. She went, yeah. I went, we can loop them onto the bar itself and get an extra 32 kilos of load on there.
Just watch it if you do that, by the way, because it'll wobble.
It's a bit jimmied, right? And as a coach, you might have to go on FaceTime as they're doing it to make sure they're putting it on. But you're working with you've got. Like I said today on a live, like in poker, you just play the hand you've got, right? If you dealt a shit hand, you've got to work what you got. Now, I'm thankful enough and fortunate enough that a lot of my clients have went out and bought kit. It's maybe taken a bit of encouragement and still is, Clara, but they're getting.
I have a partner who we in our flat. I was going to come on to this, but you said it before me. We live in a flat, so putting in a certain amount of equipment is still to be debated tomorrow, but according to Jack, incredibly unfeasible and absolutely ridiculous.
It is, right? And it'll be seen as totally ludicrous by anyone else apart from us. But, like, I would happily change the whole of my living room downstairs into a gym right now.
Yeah, same.
But anyway, I digress. But to make it as hard as Ali said, and I'll just leave it on this, pre-exhaust is a great way. And you will very rarely ever see me put in a superset unless it's like calves and biceps ever in a gym. But right now, again, you know, try to become a master of programming and make it work hard for someone with limited equipment. Pre-exhaust, if you want to know what pre-exhaust is, it just means try and induce a little bit of like muscular fatigue before the big loading movement. So in that way, you're still trying to like progress and beat your logbook with that main loading movement, but you're going into it a little bit fatigued.
Yeah.
It's a roundabout way. If you haven't got the equipment, you're not going to have muscle mass. Sorry to tell you, right? But anyway, moving on, because we spent a lot of time on that. Unless you got anything to add, Clara?
I was just going to say, just being creative and like, sometimes it's just going to suck. Like, for example, for me, if I'm trying to do like walking lunges, I've got 2 17.5 kilo dumbbells. And when I started, because I hadn't done walking lunges in fucking years, like that was hard enough. But then I started adding weight into a backpack. And now I'm at the point where I'm trying to put 30 kilos into a backpack. But the way the dumbbells and the plates sit, it's fucking up my back. So I guess it's finding, and so instead of doing the walking lunges, I'm doing reverse backward lunges basically, because then I'm moving less, the weight is shifting less on my back. And I'm able to then add, you know, it's kind of sore, but it's better than having less weight on my back, I suppose. It's just fucking awkward when like I'm loading 30 kilos onto my back, and that's, you know, almost half of what I weigh in body weight. So it's just a bit awkward. But yeah, just be creative and, you know, do what you can. And if maintenance is maintenance, and it is what it is, you're just going to have to work hard.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, next question. During an off season, should we be prioritizing a compound move, or is it just a case of progressive overload in general? Now, you have to think of what you're trying to elicit in regard to muscle damage. Yes, of course, you want progressive overload across the board, but you want to look at what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, right? So what's going to create the most amount of muscle damage in, like, say, one set. So let's take a leg extension, right? And then let's take a hack squat. Which one's harder? The top set. Now, we could debate this all hour, right? But it's fucking hack squat that's going to make you feel like you're dying, right? You do 20 reps on the leg extension, okay, that's hard and it's sore. You do 20 reps on the hack squat, you're lying down for 5 minutes if it's heavy enough and you're training hard enough, right? So the amount of muscle damage that you're going to elicit from that one set versus the leg extension is going to be a lot more, right? Now, the thing is, we can get away with doing a lot more leg extensions because we're not creating as much damage. However, we're isolating it, aren't we? We're being very specific of what we're trying to target. Whereas on the hack squat, yeah, it's a knee extension dominant move, but we're going to hit, you know, other things as well. So I would always just say progressive overload across the board, not so much in your metabolic work. If you don't know what metabolic work is, it's the stuff at the end of the workout that we program in. It's the high rep stuff and the limited rest. Or it's like, you know, the occlusion stuff that you saw Ali doing on his Instagram the other day. Whereas at the start of your workout, there's a reason why we've given you hack squat as your second exercise after maybe perhaps a leg extension, because we're trying to get the VMO shot at the top, right? So by putting the big movements first, you're ensuring that, one, you've got the energy to do it. You can give it the fucking beans, as some might say, right? You're creating the most amount of muscle damage. And as the session goes on, it's kind of like the priority or the exercise priority drops down the list. But that doesn't mean that you don't still try and progress it.
Mhm.
You know, you could go in and try and progress your first 2 movements. If you then hold the next 3 or 4 for 8 weeks, you're not going to maximize your potential growth. So I would always just suggest that if you can, like, by the end of your off season, it's hard to progress anything. But at the end of my off season, I am buzzing if I've got 1 extra rep on like my first loading movement, buzzing my tits off. And that 1 extra rep on that first loading movement might fuck me up for the rest of the session. Legit, like there's been so many times like you put absolute everything, so much energy into that top set, you fucking like headbutting the wall and stuff, do that top set, you get a rep up, the back off set's like a rep down. Or you hold it and you feel like you're putting just as much effort in that back off set. You know, it's like, guys, if you're cruising, like in the assisted guys, it's so hard just to hold weight, right? That's a different story, but that's my opinion. What do you guys think?
Was that just on compounds, the question?
The question was relating to, in an off-season, should we be prioritising compounds, or is it just a case of progressive overload in general?
So obviously, exactly what Vaughn says. I think what you do have to watch with programming, this is dieting and off-season, but I see this a lot, and I'm sure every coach in here gets this. Someone will start with me who is relatively well-trained, and they'll send me their program, and I'm like, and there's like a stupid amount of compound movements in their program. And you've got to look at it, what Vaughn just said there. One, are you taking them full failure? Are you training hard enough? If you look at your own program and one of us has not done your program and you have got a stupid amount of compounds across the week, chances are you need to pull them back and learn how to train harder. Because I do see that a lot. So you do have to watch with the amount of compounds you have in. Like, I do a fair bit less than Vaughn just due to my recovery and my lumbar, but we train relatively the same amount of compound movements a week, and it's not like 3 a session, believe me. So just watch that. But Vaughn's covered it pretty well. It's about obviously you want to get more bang for your buck, so big movements should be in there.
I don't have anything to add that you've not already covered.
It's your turn anyway.
So the question I got was about how to stay motivated when having to adapt your training to the current situation. So this is a bit more like lockdown specific. I suppose the person who asked this question was coming from a point where they started lockdown, like most of us, at least like myself, being like, oh hopefully it'll be over before it gets shit. Not that I didn't get shit, but you know, from a perspective that they were hoping that gyms will be open much sooner than they're likely to reopen. And I think a lot of people have started to experience like a bit of a dip in motivation just because the whole situation is becoming increasingly more difficult for many different reasons. And I think that the way to keep motivated in this situation and having to like be motivated to train at home with weights that aren't probably heavy enough for you, that don't feel heavy enough, or without that environment, is first of all to have a goal that is strong enough, you know, to be able to motivate you in that moment, to have a system in place that will ensure that whatever it is that you need to do gets done, whether you feel like it that day or not. But ultimately, it literally relates to the video I put up today on Instagram, so plug right there. But anyway, you do have to get motivated in the moment to start your training session. So there's a few things that you can do. One of them being make it as enjoyable as you can do. Find a way, even on the most grueling days, to see something fun within the workout. So that might be, I mean, if you're really struggling, it might be your post-workout meal and just being excited to, you know, get some Cocoa Pops or oats in. But even if it's the music that you're playing, if you're feeling particularly shit, you know, music that gets you excited, that puts you in a good mood. Sometimes just laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation. Like sometimes I think to myself, what the fuck am I doing at 5 o'clock in the morning with 30 kilos on my back in a backpack? Like walking about my living room, absolutely struggling and trying not to drop these dumbbells because I've got baby neighbors underneath me. And it's just like, what the hell? And that kind of, it makes me laugh because I think this is ridiculous, but I'm still doing it. So yeah, making it enjoyable in some shape or form is really, really important to get you motivated. I suppose focusing on the process. So thinking, okay, this is my next set. This is what I'm going to do. And just staying there, not letting yourself think, oh, if I was in the gym, I'd be doing this. And I wish I had a Smith machine. And I'm saying this because I have to do this to myself. Every time I go and train, I'm like, no, nip it in the bud. Focus in the moment. Just get on with what you've got and accept that that's a reality. The third point would be to get that high energy on and put your, what I call the game face on. You know, we often talk about going into that dark place. You can still get there even though you don't have what you would perceive to be like your hack squat. You know, you're not going in, you're not doing a Vaughan and headbutting the wall or some shit like that you might do. But you're getting your game face on, you're getting yourself psyched and motivated to sweat, to, you know, go somewhere that's going to make that muscle hurt. Because believe me, 20 to 25 reps on anything with enough effort and enough tempo is going to be sore. And I guess the last thing would just be to calibrate your goals. Like we kind of said at the beginning, you know, it is unlikely that you might be able to put on like a huge quality of tissue if you've got access to very, very limited equipment and very, very limited weights. But that just means that the goal might need to change a little bit, or the path might need to become a bit longer, or you might just have to take a diversion. But being okay with that and having a coach that can reassure you about that, I think is the best way. So putting them all together, you might tap into one thing or another depending on the day, but that should help keep you motivated, I guess.
It's a good answer. Like, I would say two things that are super simple with it. So I've not found it hard to train or that. Thankfully, I've just got a fair bit of equipment, so I'm sweet now. But what I did notice I was doing was, when I train in the gym, it's very routine based. So I've got like a playlist I'll listen to. I'll do the same things over and over again. Now, Robin doesn't need to do that because she can just train easy. But what I did notice was, like, I was training listening to like Capital FM, which is like R&B, because Robin likes it. Now, it's a bit hard. So a few people kept messaging me like, why is Chris Brown playing when you're training? But I had my headphones in. So make sure you've still got that same approach it like you're going to the gym, pre-workout meal, sit down, write in your logbook, even if you know that logbook can't really go anywhere, you've still got notes to follow. The other one I would say, and this answers another question someone's asked me, so I said the term non-negotiables yesterday, and this ties in with your goals. Like, your non-negotiables are just things you need to do daily. If you are struggling to train so much that you physically are missing sessions, you probably do need to, I think Clara used the word calibrate there, but you probably do need to sit down and assess what you're trying to achieve. Like, thankfully, like, none of my competitors have been like, oh, fuck this, because all they're thinking about is, shit, I'm going on stage at some point, so I need to train. You almost just need to make it, motivation doesn't get you results, it's just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like a checklist of stuff you know you need to do, like steps, whatever it is in terms of your goal. So that's how I would go with it.
I was on an IGTV with live with Fitch today. I pretty much answered this question, and it's really like, I find it quite silly, and that's like me being brutally honest, because a lot of what, like, to come on board with us, you have to tell us what you want to look like. Well, maybe somebody that have been on board a while. Now, you need to tell us what you want to look like in 1, 3, and 5 years' time. That's really specific, right? And we ask you to create a vision of, like, when you come on board, like when I'm on a Zoom call, I've got one tomorrow, I'm like, no, I want to know, like, how do you want your delts to look? How do you want your shoulders to look? And if it's a competitor, it's maybe like, okay, well, where do you see yourself come 2021, 2023? They might say, okay, by 2025, I want to be British champion or whatever, right? So if you've got that vision every day, I'll say, right, I screenshot it, I put it in the folder. And any time I see a lack of motivation, I bring it up on the check and response. This is what we agreed on, was the agreed objective and set target, right? So at 5 a.m, when you're Clara with your backpack, right? She's always going to, like, why is she getting up and doing that? Because she's got in the back of her mind that she wants to be a British champ one day within 2 years. So it's a non-negotiable for her. She wakes up, her alarm goes off. There's 1 millisecond where her voice will go, fuck that, fuck this is shit, right? But then there's that's eradicated straight away by another strong voice that's saying, get the fuck up, because your glutes aren't big enough, neither your delts, get to work.
And it sounds like Vaughan, it's not my own voice.
So, like, listen, that was me this morning. like, not joking, I've been pretty been getting pretty frustrated, just like missing life, just because we're now officially rescheduling our wedding, right? And it was stressful, but it didn't hit me until now. I've been fine this whole time until now, but this morning at 4:15, the last thing I wanted to get up and do was train legs, right? However, because I had a shit sleep. However, I remembered how shit that I looked from the rear. I was like, well, you fucking hamstrings look crap, so you can get up and you can go fucking PB because there's someone else out there that wants to work harder than you or would give anything for that situation. So if you've got equipment, how you should be approaching that set is there is someone in the world that would die to be in your shoes. And if they were in your shoes, they would train fucking harder than you. That's how I look at it. So I'm just going to make sure I'm fucking training all out. Because then that way I can think that I'm worthy of being in that scenario or situation. That's a pretty brutal way to look at it. But if you approach it in that way, like if you have an opportunity, if you're a competitor, you have an opportunity now to get ahead of the fucking pack. Right? I've said this before, we're on a road, right? A roadblock's went up. Loads of people are just sitting at that roadblock waiting for it to move. What have you done? You found a long way around. It's taking a bit longer, but you know what? You're still making progress. And some people, because they're lazy, unmotivated, right? They're not as the reason they're not as motivated because they don't have a strong enough, powerful vision. Is mine. Now this isn't a mindset podcast, so I digress. So,
can I just add to that? I was gonna say, like, in terms of the motivation to train, I think it's also important to appreciate that if you feel like you can't make that progress physically, or that you are working on that progress physically but that perhaps it's a bit more limited, it's definitely an opportunity to be able to sit down and make some progress, like mentally, in terms of like, well, why am I not, it ties back into it, I suppose, like, why am I not motivated enough? Like, what is it that's clearly, if I'm not that motivated, it might just not mean enough to me yet, or I've maybe not found the way that ties into it well enough yet. So spending maybe a bit more time that you might have now to really understand the nitty gritty of that goal might come in really handy kind of at a later stage, or even in mapping out that journey now. Because if you've got more time to spend understanding yourself, ultimately that is gonna, you know, map onto your training now and in future. So I guess they go hand in hand. I don't know what the point of that was, but I just wanted to add it.
That's okay. I guess, like, it's like the Marines say, right? Everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot, what this will do, right? This kind of ties in with the next question. I got a question that was asking about how do we think as a team, as a collective team, that athletes are doing, giving the latest government advice and announcements. We could say which government to that question, right? Because the Scottish one said something different from the Bojo, as we'll say. But I think what you're going to see is that it will show who really fucking wants it. It will show who's really just in it for Instagram, who's in it just because they like the idea of it, and you'll see a natural clearing of people that perhaps thought they liked competing, thought they liked bodybuilding, when they just liked the glitz, the glam, they liked putting on a bikini in the tan, they maybe always showed up not conditioned enough, and they just liked the idea of being involved in something, right? I think that you'll see a natural clearing of them. However, I think what you'll see is a massive step up with some people that are that are perhaps have been in the shadows, that have equipment, that stay in the shadows, that aren't saying much, that come out the helm next year, and you'll just go, holy fucking shit, who's that? Where have they come from? Or like they'll come out of lockdown, it's like, how the fuck did they do that? That's what I think you'll see. So how are athletes, and if the word athlete can probably be like really scrutinized there. Because if they're an athlete, they're handling it fine, in my opinion, because that's what athletes do, right? You know, Usain Bolt is an athlete, right? Do you think that if the government said to him, hey, by the way, you get one chance to go outside, is he not going to go for a run? He's going to go for a run, right? Or silly example, but you get what I'm trying to say, is that, again, in poker, you play the hand that you were dealt. Yeah. Right, so any good quote-unquote athlete that has aspirations of doing well or improving their physique is handling this fine. However, the ones that kind of just wanted it, they're handling it terribly. And they're playing the victim card. Woe is me, poor me, woe is me. I don't have any time for that. And the reason I am so abrupt about that is because I train a frontline worker who's a mother of two, who's like I put on my Instagram story, Joanne, the other day. She's fucking like 3 kilos down a month, and like we're booking a photo shoot. If she can find the time to train and buy equipment, do this and next thing, I don't see why anyone can't. So
I suppose there's a nuance also to that question, as like in terms of how they're handling it. I think you could also look at it in terms of, excuse me, fucking hell, I'm clearly not handling it fine. No, in terms of like their mental health potentially, because I've got clients who've had previous experience of mental health that maybe was kind of, they were coming out of a hole towards like January, February time, that then a lot of their mental health issues have, you know, come out again. Like I had a client who, not by my own help, but stopped taking antidepressants in January, and then a couple of weeks ago was saying that she had some really few low weeks, and some of her friends had recommended she go back on them. And we had a really good conversation where we sort of reflected upon the experience, and I said, you know, of course you're going to be feeling low right now, but like you right now at your age hitting 12,000 steps a day, when we started working together you were doing 3,000 steps a day and telling me you couldn't manage more. So actually, you know, you feel like you're in a really, really bad place. You feel like your mental health is coming crashing down, which unsurprisingly it probably will be, because this is a tough situation. But nevertheless, you're still managing to prioritize yourself and to prioritize, I suppose, what you know is going to help you at least stay level, and you're reaching out to other people. So even though they might feel like the actual handling in the moment is really difficult, they are nonetheless kind of doing it. I suppose it relates back to doing some of that inner work and being able to be a bit more reflective about the process. So handling it fine. I think we've all got better and worse days. At least I know, you know, I'm maybe one of those athletes and I'm doing the do's, but I'm having fucking ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs, right? But you're still getting it done. So they're managing because they've got a team, they've got a padding, they've got structure, they've got support. We're holding their hands throughout it. But I think we're all having, on most of us at least, are having some ups and downs for sure.
I think, to be fair, I don't know if you're speaking about an athlete there or not, Clara, but
no, not specifically. No.
Yeah. So, like, personally speaking, and like every one of my competitors, I jumped on a Zoom call. I'm sure all used were the same right after everything happened, and it was more the question of what do I need to do, and not oh shit. So like everyone's been pretty much on the ball. As Vaughn said, anyone who didn't want to commit to investing, chances are, would they have got in condition for a show anyway? Probably not. Another big one though, obviously, like the way you've answered that there, Clara, I think it's a really good one. So Sam, my client in the middle of the screen, sorry mate, I'm going to speak about this, but my client Sam is a natural bodybuilder. He put up a post yesterday that I shared. Everyone go watch it. It was a great post. Just about his like difficulty with depression and how it has been very hard over the lockdown period. But I will also say he's bought equipment, he's not missed a session, and his goal to compete is still there. So no one, I know it's really difficult, but like that just goes to show you that if your goal's big enough, yes, you'll have days that are like, everyone has days like that, but still gets the boxes ticked. So I'll give Sam a shout out there. I will link it on my story, by the way, because it was a brilliant post.
Definitely, everybody should go and watch it.
I'm quite open and honest and fairly like wear my heart on my sleeve. I'll be honest with you, Sam. I watched that and I cried after it.
Yeah, it was
same.
Like for 30 seconds, I was trying to like not let Ronan downstairs hear me going sniffing. So I think it took a lot of courage, but it was a great example. We were addressing that from like, you know, that question was asked by an athlete, so I was answering in quite a blunt way. But I think that everyone is kind of going through what you're going through, and by no means be under any illusion that neither one of us three aren't having those days as well. It's just we maybe won't show that quite as much for various reasons. But in general, as I said, everyone's got highs and lows. Now, before we get on to that, there's other questions. I can't remember who's next.
Me.
I just answered, right?
It's me next, yeah.
Right, here we go.
So this one's a really good question. where would we like to be as coaches and with business in the next 5 years? So I'll let Vaughn answer some of the business one in case we have. So as a team, we do a call every.
He's been practicing this speech for months.
I know. But I can only remember half of it. But as a team, we do a call every week, and like there's targets set. But as an actual like longevity, we've got. If you want to be like doing well in business, it's not about what we're doing in 3 months. Like we've got big goals with it. From terms of coaching, like I know where my areas need improved, so my goal is to improve them. You can't just sit and like think about it, you've got to do it. So I've got certain areas I need to bring up, like my anatomy and physiology could do with a bit more, so that's a big goal. But in 5 years, that's asking. That personally speaking, I would be wanting to work with all athletes or advanced clients who are going on stage, doing photo shoots. Obviously, as a brand, we are looking to be elite transformation specialists. So that's going to take some graft from all of us. From a 5-year plan, I want to be in a position from business where I'm comfortable, because who doesn't want to be comfortable? But I think a big one for me, actually, which sounds a bit surprising, is being able to juggle work and life. That would probably be a big business one. From a coaching perspective, I'd love to have, and so would all of us, love to have a certain amount of clients winning British titles. I know the number in my head, I'm not going to tell you. I think every season we put clients on stage, it's not just about putting people on stage, it's about picking up trophies as well, because at the end of the day, that's what clients want to do. So that personally is where it wants to be. So I'd say in 5 years, I want to be more educated. I want to be providing a better service. And I think if the progression that we've done, so Clara started working with us this year, me and Vaughn have worked together for 5-6 years, and we were joking about earlier about we had boot camps and like stuff like that. And I've just sent Vaughn a video that he's put on his story, and I've put it up. That was us messing around doing a vlog 3 years ago or something. But it goes to show you the progression we've made. If we are still making that in another 5 years, we'll be in a very, very good position. So that's personally where I'd like to be.
The thing is, right, at that point, me and Ali never really knew our arse from our elbow, right? We didn't know if we needed a shite or a haircut when it came to business. Now, the collective sort of goal or vision of the brand when I approached Clara and Ali with this idea last year was to become known as the most reputable brand in the UK for elite body transformations, specifically online, right? With a combination of some one-to-one, because that's where you'll start, right? But that is the target for the next 5 years. I think we'll do it in 3, right? And that is something I say will happen. I don't say won't, because I think that what you think, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. I'm a big believer of that. 500 clients under the brand within 5 years, split between a team of 5 coaches. Well, it'll be 6 if you include myself. All known for being the top in the industry in their specific fields. And the reason we say that is that, for example, Clara is our bikini girl, but she's she's a sports exercise psychologist as well. So she'll know more about that sort of stuff than I will do. So the idea would be to get everyone speaking at the likes of Body Power, right? Or be recognised for their accolades, accomplishments, achievements, whether it be in education or as a coach. Personally, for me, it's to put someone on stage on the Olympia within 5 years, but I think I could do it in 3. It was to get someone to win a British title last year. Unfortunately, we came up slightly short, Clara. We came 3rd, which is okay, right? And COVID's cancelled 2020 season, so that's put a dent.
I've got 1 British, so that's sweet.
In the title, but Ali's got that, right? So that's the brand vision. That's what I think about every single day. It's what gets me out of bed. I relate it to not letting my family down, and by that I say my future family, because I don't have any children. But by that point, I want to have 2 children. I want my wife to not, if she doesn't want to work, be able to not work and be able to just support them through the company itself and what we do. And that's kind of I could go on for another hour. right? But I just want to try and help as many people as I can through working with my own clientele, but more specifically helping these guys, work with their clients and have an impact on their clients' lives, and ultimately just listen. We want to be known as the best, and I think that when I said to Ali and Clara, this is what the aim is, they were both like, okay, and they're just as invested in that idea as myself. But it's not to just like to be a show off. It's a case of just being seen as the best because we fucking care so much more than any other brand that I've seen out there. But anyway, Clara.
Can I jump back in there just before you, Clara? I think another thing that you should, like, everyone should like pay attention to is see when it's anything like this, or you've got a business that you want to take somewhere, it has to be driven in the same direction. So when we sit down, everyone's got different things they like and etc., but we have the same brand vision. So it's all going in the same way. The energy's going there. We're all driven. Obviously 5-year plan, but yeah, Vaughn is right. We could probably do it in 3. I think that the progression we see, people always laugh when Vaughn says that, but like me and him have probably spoke every day for 6 years, like and we don't really have conversations like, oh, hey mate, how you doing? It is business orientated, or what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Have you like, it is, we are lucky we're in a position that we do jobs that are fucking cool, like getting to help so many people. You will never know if you're not a coach, you will never know the feeling of when you see a before and after photo. It's, the first one's amazing and it never ever gets old. Like when you see that first photo and the last one, like I put up a video of Chloe when she won her pro card, the UQUP, and I was in Berlin with my girlfriend, and I remember sitting with a beer and I talk a lot. I remember just sitting and thinking, I don't know what to say or do, or I just sat. So we are so lucky that we are driven to become better as coaches, but we also have such cool, like the goals we have are so cool that definitely not going to achieve them. You know what I mean? So definitely are going to achieve them. Sorry.
You're not going to not achieve them.
I know. Sorry, Clara.
No, that's fine. I was about to go off on one anyway. So yeah. I guess my goal, I will go with the 5 years just because A, I'm newer to the industry, but B, because I'm giving myself 4 years to finish my qualification as a sport and exercise psychologist. So I'll give you a bit of a backdrop. In order to become a fully qualified sport and exercise psychologist, you need to do an undergrad in psychology, a master's in sport and exercise psychology, and then your stage 2 applied practice, which you can do in 2 years full time or in 4 years part time. And I'm going for the second option because my goal is to be recognized as a sport and exercise psychologist that specializes in online coaching and physique transformation. So before, I never really knew which one I wanted to pay more importance to, but now I'm pretty clear that what I want to do is be an online physique coach, an online physique specialist, but having that sport and exercise psychology qualification to inform everything that I do. So the clients that I want to work with are those elite transformations. It is to get people to stage, it is to get people to that incredible before and after, but perhaps the journey for that client might be a bit longer because we're not just working with losing body weight and transforming the physique. They might come to me with an incredible physique already, but there's a lot of stuff that we need to work around, like undo the puzzle and then kind of start again and rebuild it. But the vision is exactly the same. I want to be known in the UK and in Scotland. I don't think there's another exercise psychologist in Scotland. So I want to be, as you might have seen in my hashtags, the exercise. That's who I am. That's what I want to be known as. And also within that, become a recognized posing coach, particularly for beginners, mainly, at least for now, but in 5 years, a recognized posing coach across the UK too.
I like that. Now, obviously, I had approached Ali and Clara specifically. The reason is they have the same values as me, and the brand has certain values, and we'll tend to only really work with specific and certain people. And I couldn't tell you the amount of times I've got to the end of a consult call and went, I'm not a coach for you. Mm-hmm. And that's true. Like, just simply because a few years ago, in truth, I wouldn't have done that. I would work with anyone. Oh yeah, fucking just come on board. That's no worries. But it's really only as you start to recognise what you truly believe in, who you want to work with, that again the blinkers are off and you're just on a straight road. I now realise that I'm waffling, so I don't have any questions.
I've got
Clara, Ali, you just went. It would be me.
I just want to add something to what you just said there. I think it's also like it kind of in line with what you said. It's important to be able to be honest with yourself in that, because ultimately the way that you get results is by building that really good relationship between your coach and yourself as a client, right? So without that relationship, if you don't fully trust your coach, and if your coach doesn't trust you, and if you can't proactively work on building that relationship over time, you're not going anywhere. So if you start speaking to a potential client, and you think, I don't see the bond there, it might come with time, but you need to be, as a client, equally scrutinizing with your coach. If you're going to be making that investment, not just in money, but also in time, you need to be very, very sure that the person that you're going to be working with is someone that you want to work with, someone that you are going to be ready to build a relationship with. Because, this is just me geeking out, and Foxy down there might laugh. She's got the camera off, but there's so much data to suggest that the relationship between a clinician and a patient, a coach and an athlete, like the vast majority of the success of that relationship is based on the success of the work that they do together is based on the quality of that relationship. Doesn't really matter in sports psychology or in psychology in general, like what intervention you use. If you don't have a good relationship with the person in front of you, it's not going to happen. It's the same with coaching. You might have the best training plan, the best nutrition, yada, yada on paper, but if you don't have that relationship, you're fucked. See, she's clapping. So yeah, I just wanted to add that there, that it's so important in both ways to be really clear with like who you want to work with and whether you're prepared to invest in that way. Over to you, Ali. I'll shut up.
Well, I just go with the next question, one.
Yeah.
The next one was biggest mistake you see with new PTs. Now, I'll pull up my textbook now because a million. Without going into too much detail, but this is the funniest one I see. All talk and no work rate. Like, me and Vaughn have worked in the industry for a while, and like we will both hold our hands up and say what we done at the start was not, well, it isn't where we are now, but we learned and we worked. The biggest one I see is this. It's so much talk like about how good you are. Why am I not getting clients? Why am I not doing this? You're not getting clients because you're not actually doing any work. Like, you are not the hardest working person in the room. And if you are, go to a different room. Like, it's genuinely that. Like, I get asked a lot of questions from coaches, and I'm like, I've never even seen you on Instagram. Now, I know Instagram is not everything, but it's a big marketing tool. If you're a new PT, set your non-negotiables, whether that's speak to 10 people on the gym floor a day. Yes, I did just say 10, not one, because you've got to have a certain amount to convert. Speak to 10 people on Instagram a day, and that's new people on Instagram, and just keep doing it. Another big one for me is I see a lot of people who are it's almost scared to make a mistake. Like, the first time I prepped a client, I prepped Chloe, and Vaughn speaks about this all the time. When he first prepped, I think it was Chris, I didn't know what I was doing, but you don't know until you learn. So I've got a folder of stuff I've done that I'm like, I know I don't do that again. But a lot of the time with PTs, they're a bit too tentative because they're so scared about their own knowledge. Yes, you should be trying to learn more, but that doesn't come without experience. So that would be a big one. But the honest one is just stop feeling sorry for yourself because no one else is going to. Like, get it done. And also the obvious one, like, yes, I'm not saying all coaches have to walk around with 8-packs all year round, but if you have never got in shape, how can you expect someone to be in a calorie deficit for a long time? Like, there's a reason that, like, if a prep client says to us, oh, this is hard, like, we could just send them a photo of us on stage and go, I know, I've been there. If you don't have that, like, with a client, I think it's just, like, that annoys me a lot. It's like you're expecting your clients to work harder, but you can't even put in the graft yourself. I find that a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that that was a really big one. Another big mistake that I see, and I say this for me, like being quite new to the industry personally, um, but it's a lot of new PTs make the mistake of just selling sessions and not selling coaching. Um, it's you don't get results with someone just paying you for 30 quid a session. Like if you sell them a journey, if you sell them the whole thing, then they're not just investing in that 1 hour PT session and they then go and do whatever the fuck they want within they don't follow whatever you've said, and they come back the week after saying, oh, I've not made any progress. If you're only selling sessions because you're too scared to charge more, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're never going to get as good results as you could get. That would be mine that I've seen more so, but I definitely agree with the whole not being able to keep yourself accountable. And I see this all the time, and it really, really frustrates me. Also, PTs who, when they're delivering a PT session, are like on their phone, having a coffee, just like absolute chilling, not paying any attention to their client, or letting their client come to the PT session for banter. Like I suppose it depends what kind of PT you want to be, but if you want results, like make your clients train hard. Like that's what they're paying you for. They're not paying for an hour of counseling.
I think you guys have kind of answered a lot of what I would have said. But if I think back to the mistakes I made, and I think that as a coach, you need to be willing to make mistakes, and that's where you learn.
Always,
right?
Always.
When I first started, it was sessions. I didn't do programs. I didn't do meal plans. I didn't do check-ins, right? And you learn over time what to do and what not to do. But I didn't have a business head. I didn't realize that, in your 6-week PT course, they don't teach you that you need to be a businessman. You're not good at that. You will not be successful. Some of the things that Ali said relate to marketing. Nothing was talked about marketing in my 6-week PT course or at university about being a PT, right? So I didn't have a clear-cut idea of who my target audience was. And it's only really now, like, you'll all probably follow us on Instagram, right? Do you think that we are speaking to the same people? It's pretty adamant that we are, right? Because the message is clear about who our avatar is. Our brand avatars, plural, is, right? We work with males and females, predominantly from the age of maybe young 20s up to the age of about 35. They're really interested in taking their physique up to the next level, whether that's photo shoots or shows. One avatar is a beginner bikini girl within the first 1 to 3 years. That's very specific. So if we know that, how easy is it to generate content? Super easy, right? What did I used to do years ago on Instagram? Wake up on a Tuesday, right, cool, what will I post about today? Or I'll take a photo of my shaker and I'll talk about fucking protein. Wednesday, fuck, when we're talking today, right? Whereas that's what we done back in the day. Whereas now, like, we have a weekly sort of work call. I'm like, right, we all have different schedules. If you don't notice, we all post a tutorial on a different day. We all post an IGTV live on a different day. You know what I mean? There's a reason for that, because of what we're trying to do. So I think at the very start, I would have loved to have gotten crystal clear on like how old my target audience was, my specific client that I want to work with. What's their pain points? What do they struggle with? So for example, if I've just told you who our brand avatar is, one of that avatar's pain points is you have an idea of how to train, but you're not specific enough to improve your body to where it needs to be. And that's where you need us to come in hand to help improve your exercise execution, right? You've never really properly dieted before stuck to it because just mentally you've just not been there. Your goals not been strong enough to you. It's our job to provide the motivation to ensure you stick to that. And then also you don't have the self-belief that you'll ever get there. It's our job to eradicate that and ensure that we do get you there, right? So we can pump out content that's constantly talking about those pain points. Someone that's new to the industry, hey, fucking Sandra from Stobswell, yeah, you eat kebabs, fucking get right in here, I love kebabs, let's go. Just like Clara said for the banter, right? So where they go wrong is they don't know who they're speaking to.
Stobswell, by the way, if you're not from Dundee, Stobswell is like a slightly rough area.
Rundown area.
Yeah. You need to also have, by the way, for any PTs, and I told Sam this the other day, but you need to have, obviously we've got a clear message, like the branding, words elite, things like that. Like that's there for a reason. Like people are like to me, like they sometimes on a call say, oh, elite's quite scary. And I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be. Like you have to have that, exactly what Vaughn says. You need to be speaking to one person. It's not, or not one person, but one type of person. If you're trying to be a master of all trades, it's difficult, especially if you actually care about results.
Definitely.
When was the last time you saw a post from one of us that talked about what a carbohydrate is? Never, right? You never see us speaking about that because that's not what our clients struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Clients know what a carbohydrate is, right?
Yeah.
So, but years ago, like when me and Ali, if you look at that video on Instagram, we worked with people that didn't know what a carbohydrate was. So our content reflected that. Mostly we didn't really do content. We just like posted photos of us in our vests looking skinny. Right?
First.
Skinny for one. The person that's really on this call that would have seen that would be Indra. Because Indra has been with me for 4 years.
Don't comment, Indra.
So Indra, you just stay on mute, right? Anyway. Next question. Clara, you got one or Ali? You got another one?
No, I don't have any more.
Not
but
anyone, so free for all.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to go back to the point there of like knowing who you speak to, and I suppose what Sam said there is that we've all got that same mission, but then obviously the type of client that we would want to necessarily work with will be slightly different. And the type of client that then wants to work with us, if someone wants to come under the brand, most of them might have an idea of who they would like to work with and who they think they might click with better. And that just is also down to our personality, and I suppose also down to the experience that we've got. I mean, I would never, ever even attempt to prep an assisted male, because I'd be like, you mean you inject your ass? What the fuck are you on about? Like, it would just, that it's obvious, but someone that would want to maybe work with me, or that I would want to work with, is that person who's competed once or has never competed but just feels generally unhappy with where they're at, and they just need another person there in their life to help them with that. So the mission is the same and the way that we do it is the same, but the way that we layer it out might be slightly different for each one of us.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll just be in that case, like there's been a couple of times that I've been on a consult and we get to the end of it and I just went, you need to work with Clara.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what? I'm like, you need to work with Clara. And they're like, no, but I want to leave. I'm like, nah, you're suited to Clara. Clara will coach you better than me. Number one, I don't have fucking patience for you, So it's
Same.
about, I guess for us, like, yes, we'll work with a variety of people that are all looking to achieve an elite transformation, but Clara's exactly right. If there's someone that approaches me that's more I use the term beginner as in like they've never done an elite transformation before, mm-hmm. right? And maybe they've trained for a couple of years and they've never stuck to a proper diet before. So in that instance, I would maybe let's say they've had problems with food in the past. Would I be the right coach for them, or do we have a coach under the brand that has had experience with that before, that is a psychologist that would perhaps could relate to them and offer them more empathy than I would? Mm-hmm. Yes, right? If there's a big fucking dude who wants to take loads of gear, wants to step on stage, I'm going to be like that. Send him my way. Give it to me, right? So we will often cross-refer clients. That's not a bad thing, right? It's a benefit of being a team.
That's the other thing. Like, if anyone is a PT in here and you're wondering how to set up your sort of like stuff for social media, Vaughn's right. So the way we do it is we promote the brand, which in turn promotes each other. You'll notice we share each other's stuff. There's not like one way or the other. It's just a promotion of the brand. But people always are shocked when they're like, oh my God, you've posted that much on Instagram. And see, my honest answer, if you're a coach, it is not that hard if you plan it out. Like people are so shocked when they're like, you've posted every day for X amount of time. And I'm like, yeah, but all my posts are wrote up on a Sunday to next Sunday. Like, I know. So work. Yeah. So it's like, if you're a PT and you want to become And by the way, we are by no means successful. We are just more successful than we were. We have bigger goals than where we are. But if you don't want to put in graft for it and you don't treat it like a business, it's not just, as Clara said, an hour on the gym floor, then you run home. Like, it needs to be a business. That's what I see. Probably, I just thought of this, by the way, that's probably what I see the most wrong with PT in. It's just not a business to them. It's just fast cash.
Very true. Now, we would usually wrap this up bang on 8. There's 6 minutes left.
Oh my God, let's keep waffling for 6 minutes.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Sam, thank you. Right. Natural progression coaching clients for stage would be to coach them towards a photo shoot first. And as a coach, what did you feel confident in your ability? I'll take that because I've not answered one. The natural progression, now this depends. I didn't do a photo shoot first.
No, did I?
Right? We did shows first. However, do a lot of our clients do a photo shoot first? Usually, yeah. Right? Why? Because we learned. Right? We probably stepped on stage when we shouldn't have and had a bit more tissue. So the thing with competing is, if you've never experienced what it's like before to be in that long of a calorie deficit and to be that hungry and to feel that shit, it can often be so deflating pulling out of a show than a photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm not saying that in any way as like but Vaughn, that sounds a bit shit. But in general, that clients will more than likely fuck up the first time they prep. And if you tell me that you had a flawless first prep, you're a liar and you're a bad one at that. Right? We all do it. Right? We've all had a meal or we've had, extra on our rest days or whatnot. So in that instance, it's often a learning curve. And what tends to happen is once you've done the photo shoot, you kind of go, right, I want to do this again. I want to do way better. And you go, cool, but tell you what, let's go through a massive gaining phase first, which they're in a superb position to add tissue for a long period of time. And then when they come back, they're so motivated to do it way better than they've done it before. Whereas often, you can imagine someone steps on stage for the first time and they've fucked up on their diet quite a lot, they've not prepped good, and they probably not have enough muscle mass or condition for the show, or one they should be going on stage anyway, but they do, and how deflated they feel after it can be demoralising, right? And it can set them on a bad path. So, yeah, I'd say photo shoot first. However, Clara came on board. Clara went, I want to do a photo shoot. And she was dieting. I went, Clara, you want to do a show as well? She went, yeah. So I think we did the photo shoot first. Then we did the shoot.
And then 3 weeks after was the show.
Yeah. What point did I feel confident on ability to put them? Mate, in all honesty, just do it. Like you'll never be what you think ready. You have to just, like, I prepped Chris Bain, who's a system male bodybuilder, had a rough idea of what to do, but not a complete idea of what to do. I never prepped a bikini girl before. So Clara, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm learning. And as long as you say that to clients, they'll go, oh, sweet, that's cool. And then the second year, right, this is what we learned from last year, but then we prepped for the second year. Oh, but shit, fuck, this year we should have done that. Oh, and you're constantly improving. But the reason that we'll get to where we're at is because, as Ali said, we've made a ton of mistakes.
Yeah. And I think asking your clients for feedback too is a really good thing to do. And I guess it relates to any kind of business decision that you make or any kind of coaching decision. I rember the first exercise psychology intervention I delivered, I had 16 people in front of me. It was just a 6-week intervention course, weight loss for life, basically working with the people who didn't know what a carb was on a weight loss journey, but informed by exercise psychology principles. And I was shitting my fucking pants. I was like, I have no idea what I'm about to do. I've got no clue. You kind of know what you're doing, but it's not until you start it that you go, oh yeah, that was a terrible idea. Never doing that again. And next time you do, you change it. And other times you go, actually, I can't believe how well that worked. Let's do that again, but let's make it better, because I'll ask people how they found it, and we'll keep going at it. So it's the same with anything. it's probably the first time is probably not going to be good, but you know, it's better to do it once at least and make it a bit meh than never do it because it wasn't going to be perfect the first time round.
Yeah, I'll answer your question as I go into this, Indra, and then obviously everyone will take on. Like, I personally think a photo shoot can be a natural progression because for some people, as Vaughn says, sometimes they just want to see what it's like to get lean and get that, like, it's still an elite transformation for where they're starting. So sometimes they like to start down, you get a photo shoot, and then when you ignite that fire, they're like, cool, I want to compete. So it is quite a good transition with it. I wouldn't say, I'd say with Vaughn, like, the moment you become confident, I think it would be stupid to say you ever know enough, but it is just learning. Like, I'm thankful that my first client I actually went to school with her, and I didn't even online coach at this point. I was in Australia. She just asked me about it, and then next thing it just happened. And obviously, Chloe done very well. But I learned a lot from that, and then every time I prep her now, it's a better position. In terms of your question, Indra, I think it's a hard one because as a coach, you should always be honest to someone. Like my client Luke that competed last year, and he won't mind me saying this because I said it to him from the start. We knew he did not have enough tissue. He was shredded. The guys that beat him on stage were not as lean, but were just a lot bigger or not bigger, but had more full physiques, and he was cool with that. If it can be hard and we've had clients do it before, and we've had mates do it. I won't shout him out, but one of our mates, basically the whole of last year on prep, in his head was going to win. And if that becomes your all, like Vaughn spoke about before, but it's a hard one where it's different, like for people like Chloe, who like standard-wise is very high. But some people, it is just about being honest with them. Yes, they'll become the best version of themselves. You don't know like who else is going to turn up. You also need to focus on the show. I think for the first time anyway. After that, you're in a better position. You know where you are. You know where needs improved. I think it is very difficult. A lot of the time, first-time competitors won't do that great. Unless I think bikini's probably the only one you do see quite a lot of it because there is quite a lot of first-time competitors on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I like just to back that up. Like I think that at the start of the journey, you have to now be, and I wasn't a couple of years ago, I hold my hands up, right? You have to be honest about what is achievable. Mm-hmm. So if a client comes over and they say, Vaughn, I want to compete next year, I'll say, by the way, listen, you'd be better off waiting another year. No, Vaughn, I absolutely want to do it. And I say, cool, you will not place. And they go, what? I went, there's a 90% chance you will go on stage and not place. You will not get a look. I said, but if you want to, we can prep, and that's cool. And that means that from the start, they know exactly what's expected. Mm-hmm. There's not like, hey, bro, you're looking sick. Yeah, we're coming for that heat. You know what I mean? There's none of that shit. It's just a case. And then in other occasions, it's a case of, right, you know what? We look all right. We might get a shot. It depends who shows up. I go, you know what? Let's do a low-level qualifier. There's not going to be many competitors. And if they are, they're all waiting for PCA the next week anyway, or whatever. And you've got more of a chance in placing in them. I said, but your main goal, 90% of competitors in their first year are not going to place. I came last. Effectively, I love saying that, right? Because people go, what? I came last, right? And then it was only this year, as you see on my wall, came first, right? It's an actual progression. The more you come back, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get to win because you're going to look better, right? But the thing is, in your first year, you're still a baby. You're still at the start of your journey. You're still this little, this little egg. And the egg still needs to hatch, right? And live its whole life. So I would just say it's been very open and honest from the start, right? This is what is expected. However, we can expect something in 3 years' time. So if someone comes on board and I say, listen, the objective is to place in a bikini show in 2023, that's damn achievable with 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
being able to, sorry.
You go, Clara.
I was just going to say that the reality is though, like, even in your first show, like I didn't place, but I was backstage and I was looking myself in the mirror thinking, holy fuck, you look insane. In my head, I was like shit hot. Never mind the fact that like there was another 14 girls in the room with me who had far more muscle mass, who actually bothered to learn how to pose. And I was just like, whoo, I don't know what I'm doing, but I love it. You know, but I thought I was loving life. And the thing is, like, I was in the best shape of my life. And I came off that stage with the biggest smile because I was like, I have achieved the unachievable. I am on a stage in a bikini strutting my stuff without a care in the world, and this is fucking amazing. And likewise, like this year, for example, my last prep, when I didn't place in the first show that I did, yeah, I was definitely bummed. But if you keep focusing on that, like, could I control the fact that the 3 girls that beat me had like at least 5 years on me in the gym? Not really. But did I look the best I ever did? Yeah, I did. And I'm so happy about that. So it's a perspective shift. Of course you're going to be competitive, you know, of course you're going to go in with that mindset, but is it going to be useful? Nah, because the reality is you're going to look fucking shit hot anyway. So
I'd say, sorry, just because we didn't answer, we did kind of answer just question that we went off on a tangent. I'd say Vaughn will do this anyway, so it's cool. But like personally, I know Indra and I know how competitive she probably is with everything. Mm-hmm. But it's sometimes just controlling that energy in a positive manner. So rather than having that client going,
Indra's not asked a question.
Was it not Indra?
It was Fett.
Oh shit! Sorry, Indra. Oh. I just can't read.
You're just sitting there like that. What the fuck?
Sorry, I can't read. Anyway, with that, I said that earlier as well. Someone should have told me. But right, okay. Well, in that case, but it's still the same thing. You will have people who just have this crazy like in their head thing they want to win. It's just about making sure that energy is placed on prep, and you can just go from there. Because you'll know anyway. But sometimes and as well, you've got to look into it. Like some people, like it's that weird coping mechanism where they say like outside they're really confident, but inside they're struggling. You just need to chat to clients. You know straight away.
Absolutely right.
Sorry about that, Indra.
I think it's a good place to finish this week's podcast webinar. Right. Now, we would like, if you could, there's no payment for this, of course, but we would love it. There's now 15 phones in here, right? If you could take a wee selfie of me and my really cool glasses and pop up on Instagram, tag us all. We'd really appreciate that.
I just put my hair up into an ugly bun too, God.
If there's a topic that you want discussed, we kind of opened the floor to everyone this week and got the least amount of questions we've gotten, right? So if you want a specific topic that you think would be as of value, not just to you, but to others, message one of us and let us know. And we will happily consider it for these webinars because we want to try and add as much value to you guys as we can. So anyone that's got their screen on, I've not seen you get your phone up and take a photo of the screen yet. The ones that screen's off, I'm just trusting you that you're doing this. But no, listen, guys. I hope there. Hey, perfect. So listen, this will be on YouTube as of the last 3 or 4 we've done. We might do one next week. We've been kind of going 2 weeks on, 1 week off. If you've not noticed, and we're still to do the sort of special one that Clara was going to host on disordered eating, which will be me and Ali probably won't have much input on that one. We'll be sitting in the back
with a notepad.
But listen, I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Whatever you do, from all of us, give it
beans. And thank you so much for tuning in. Much
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.